Hey everybody, this is Tyson.
And Logan.
And you're listening to Dad Bods and Beards podcast. It's a show that gives you a fresh look on being a father, a husband, and honestly, a man being in today's world.
For people who want to have a good time, laugh, and be uplifted, thanks for subscribing and listening. Now for the show. So funny. The first 3 minutes is just us like warming up to actually recording.
Welcome to Dad Bods and everyone. This is Tyson, and we have Logan here. What's so funny?
Dad Bods and everyone. We're keeping that one.
Welcome
Dad
to Dad
Bods
Bods and everyone else who doesn't have a dad bod.
Dad Bods and Beards, everyone. But no, that's the intro. I make an executive decision for today.
All right. So welcome everyone to Dad Bods and Beards. We have Tyson and Logan here, and we have a fun topic. I think it's something that has kind of been on my mind lately. And then I saw a post on this on Instagram, and by Millionaire Steps, and what was his name again? Who actually stated this?
Donald Miller.
So Donald Miller is talking about heroes and villains, and basically, are we a hero or are we a villain in our own lives? And really, really good about how it's just the way we think and how our mind works. Are we a half full or half empty type of guy?
Glass you're looking at the glass half full or half empty. Like, kind of how are you perceived? Like, what has molded you into the person you are? Are you like a good guy? Are you a guy that people kind of like, oh yeah,
yeah. but also I really think, sometimes you really do play the victim. But why don't we go ahead and I'll read you what he states.
Yeah, it's a good
then that's a really good intro to kind of what we're about to talk about. So he goes, the villains and heroes actually have the exact same backstory. The villain story and the backstory of the hero are pain. The hero is always an orphan in some way, and they're orphaned. The villain, if you watch the movie closely, screenwriters will put a scar on their face, a limp, some sort of speech impediment, and they're indicating that if this person has a painful backstory. So the difference between a villain and a hero is one thing is how they respond to pain. The world hurt me, so it's going to hurt you, or the hero says the world hurt me, and I'm not going to let this happen to anyone else.
Yeah, like I mean, you look at that in a literal sense, and then like a figurative sense. Like figurative, you got all the superhero movies. Like I'm a big Marvel guy. I like them all, seen them all. And you can see like, oh, Batman and the Joker. You can see like Iron Man and all the other different villains throughout the Marvel universe. And then you get people we probably can both think of in this life of like, hey, that guy went through a crap ton, and he's like right now I'm listening to David Goggins. And reading his book, right?
Yeah.
That dude's upbringing is insane. Like it like hurts me to like listen to his book a little bit of like what he went through as a kid. But now he is like super motivational, like super like take control of your life, be a bad A, da-da-da-da. And then you get all these other people who rightfully so have become super jaded and hardened in the world because of their horrible upbringing. So it's like, not that you want to play victim blaming, but it's kind of like you have the most control over where your life goes based off of the experiences that you've had.
I absolutely agree. Like, so as in a professional life, you can actually see those who play victim and those who do not. And you can see the different parts of their life and how they're succeeding, how they're not succeeding. I don't know what I'm saying.
You're fine, dude. No, so you're saying whether they're succeeding or they're not succeeding. Like we can almost go back to referencing what one of our podcasts were, our first ones, where I talked about like the really frustrating week we had at work. And it was the contrast of the way a couple of guys left our company. One guy, super professional, going on to start his own business, moving on. And then the other guy who's been a perpetual victim his whole life. They grew up together, friends, same school. I don't know their backstories. I don't know their lives, but they worked for the same company. I worked for my brother for a few years before I got there. But one worked his way up and one kind of stayed stagnant. And the one who worked his way up left professionally, went on to start his own business. He's doing really well. The other one, perpetual victim, I quit, F this, burned a bridge.
Mm-hmm.
So you can say, I mean, you can, there's the contrast and everything. And it's like they had, as far as like their current work situation, they were pretty similar, but yet one was progressing and one was staying stagnant because of attitude. There's a lot of it.
Well, I think attitude is the main point of this whole conversation is how you're going to look at things that are happening to you, because everyone has crap happening to them. Everyone's going through a situation in life, and there is one person that I really like to eat. I listened to his talk and his podcast, his speech, whatever you want to call it, and what it was talking about is he was on his way. This leader was on his way to his house, and he rear-ended a man. Totally his fault. All was totally his fault. So what will happen, though, is the guy came out of his car, and as he got out of his car just to check and make sure everyone was okay in his car, and the guy just reamed him and just said, "You're an idiot. How dare you?" All this kind of stuff, and just foul mouth, completely gone, and drove off. And so this guy who's giving the speech was telling everyone, it's like, I had the worst feeling. I couldn't stand that guy. How dare he talk to me that way? It was an accident. There was by no means did I mean to do that, all that kind of stuff. So months later from this accident, he's giving this speech, and he's speaking to this group of people, and all of a sudden afterwards this gentleman comes up and talks to him, and it was the same guy who he hit, and he came and apologized, and he apologized and said, "I'm so sorry the way I spoke to you. I was so glad that you were here talking, because I've wanted to apologize ever since day one." He's like, "I had just found out that my wife died, and I had to go tell my kids." And so the thing is like, here he is holding resentment, holding all this hatred towards this one individual. Soon as he found out what really happened, he had all the love in the world for this guy.
Sure. It's like perspective, right?
Yeah, it's all perspective and all mindset. So when me having a business, dude, it's hard. Like, I probably work literally today alone. I've been up since 7 o'clock. I started work at 8, and it's 8 o'clock now. I've worked 12 hours straight in this lab.
Yeah, and this is your
I don't
side business, aside.
Yeah, and I don't pay myself, and that's totally fine. That's what we're doing, and I'm not complaining. But I am grateful for the opportunity to be able to work hard. But I also know there's a lot of other people out there that are complaining that they haven't been able to pay themselves after a certain amount of years. Yeah. Like, how you shouldn't be doing this and doing that. And to me, it's just a matter of mindset. Like, dude, this is fun. Like, this is cool.
Yeah.
And so, I think it's all a matter of perspective.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like the constant, and I'm not going to get into it politics wise because we're not going to talk about politics, but it's like the constant battle of kind of like minimum wage versus like livable wage versus like tax the rich versus like no one should be that wealthy versus pro-capitalism. It's kind of like everything comes down to perspective. There is no right. There is no like one right answer, one wrong answer. And the same thing with kind of what you were talking about. And one thing I was telling you about earlier, like the hero villain concept, it also boils down to not just how you are and how you feel like you're portrayed or whatever, but it's also on like how other people see you based off of your experiences with them, whether that's in like a good part of your life or a not so great part of your life. So for instance, if people were to know me as well, like if you were to know me as well as you do now, 6 or 7 years ago, you would see a completely different person. Completely mentally unstable, not on medication, undiagnosed. I mean, I will save some of those stories for another podcast. Versus now, I'm in a completely different stage of my life, and I approach things very differently. I approach people very differently. Some of the experiences I've had with people close to me and how I was treated. So it's all literally like you were talking about the guy with getting rear-ended. It's all about you have no idea what's going on with the other person. So I try to be careful. And if I've wronged somebody, I'm not great at it, but I try. I try to fix it. Like, so what I'm alluding to is this week, I got a text from a guy I used to work with, and it was not a happy text. It was actually a very angry text. There was a lot of very big bad words and some accusations and stuff. And it was because of a decision that I made in a very frustrated, annoyed state last week. So we have a truck yard where we park our trucks, like our semi trucks, dump trucks, or whatever. And we have a guy that used to work with us that he parks one of his dump truck trailers there. I had a really bad day that Friday, and I was over at our truck yard and just in a kick rocks type of mood, literally. And I kicked part of his trailer and I broke it.
Oh wow.
And it was I in an anger situation, it was intentional. Nothing against him. It was just like the drywall punch type situation. Anyways, before I had a chance to go fix it, he saw it and then got this super angry. All in his defense, he had every right because it looked like he used to work for us, so it looked like it was a retaliation thing. So I stewed on that for like an hour or two, like how to respond. And I finally decided to be like, dude, I'm sorry. That was me. Nothing against you. And then I went the next day and I replaced all the parts. I mean, it was like $37.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like something super expensive, but
Uh-huh.
it was someone else's property. We had a good relationship, and now it's kind of tainted because I made a stupid mistake in a super high elevated, emotionally angry state. So it's all, like I said, going back to perspective. Like you just got to I mean, professionally and just your reputation, like you gotta be constantly aware of how you're coming off to other people. And I say that all the time. Like someone's like, well, that's not how I meant it. I'm like, yeah, but you still did this, and you have to be understanding that even if you didn't mean it that way, you have to understand that people will take things a certain way, and you can't control that. You can't control how other people perceive you. You can just control what you do. So I guess that's the whole hero villain concept too.
So I like to take there's two roads that I want to take with that. So first I'm going to address you kicking and all that kind of stuff. So one thing I've learned in my marriage is I am all about fixing things now.
Oh, every guy is, right?
Yeah, no. So like if there's an argument, mind you, like Kenneth and I we don't get in a lot of fights. We get in a few arguments, but it's more just us disagreeing on what we're going to have for dinner, or the house isn't as clean as I would like it, and stupid things on my part where I'm like, I can't believe there's cups out, that type of thing.
You guys are so cute.
What?
You guys are so cute.
No, but what I mean though is and so she will almost shut down and not want to talk until she cools down. And I just want to keep talking. I'm like, I feel like I'm totally opposite of every married couple,
dude.
But what I've learned though is when feel that way and she shut down, I even get more aggressive because I'm like, no, we need to take care of it now. And so what happened now is, so now I will actually go and I'll walk away, I'll step away and calm down, literally give it 10, 15 minutes and I'll come down and apologize. And I used to say, but
let's rehash everything all over.
But I don't do that anymore. Or at least I try not to. And I'm like, I'm so sorry, but I stopped doing that. Yeah, you were crazy. No, I really do think that, in the heat of the moment and stuff like that, we do say some things. And so I try to take myself out now. I've learned a lot from her. When it comes to that stuff. And then secondly, there's a lot of things that we do in our professional lives and that everyone's always judging, and it's hard to be on point the whole time.
Oh yeah.
But when you are dealing, like when you are the boss or someone else is your boss, that type of thing, and you have an employee who's always complaining that there's nothing to do, and you, for in fact, have given them lots to do and all this kind of stuff, it starts to get old. It starts to wear on us. And so I feel like the negativity of people wear you down.
Oh, dude, 100%.
Yeah. And so, like, I love hanging out with you. Like, you and I, if I'm having a bad day, I've called you, like I called you today. And I asked for advice. So I'm a little hurt that you didn't call me on Friday, that you didn't talk to me.
Did you call me? What was Friday?
No, when you had a hard day. I'm like, no, you called me.
That was 2 weeks ago. Yeah. But yeah.
Like, you call me. I got you. No, but it's the people who continually feel like they're victims. I feel like it wears me down. And sometimes I feel like I do sometimes act like I'm the victim, like, woe is me. It's my, that type of thing.
Well, that's a natural human emotion and reaction. Like everyone feels victimized at times, and sometimes it's 100% like legitimate, and they are being victimized.
Yeah,
I have a threshold where I will entertain your victimhood. I'm not saying you, but like in general, to a point, and then it's like, I'm not going to criticize you or jump on you or make you feel belittled. Like, I'm just going to stop listening to you because
Mhm.
like that's what I said. Like, speaking of heroes and villains and victims, right? Like, people who are either rescued by the hero or they're beat down by the villain, right? Sometimes the victim isn't affected by either one of those. They just are constantly like playing off of past experiences, or like, I can't get ahead in life because maybe you're not mentally at the state where you need to be, like mental illness wise, or you have had some experiences that are just putting you in a depressive state, or the economy freaking sucks right now, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you got people who are making six figures living paycheck to paycheck, like that are trying to budget. And so there's a million
Mhm.
and one things out there that can cause that victimhood, but it's like realizing that you're the only person that can pull you out of it is where the change comes, right?
So okay, let's say that you and I. So let's say I'm playing the victim all the time,
Sure.
or let's yeah the victim right now. What would you tell me? Sheesh, if I spit it out, what would you tell me or give me advice on? Hey, you need to chill. You're not always the victim. What would you say?
Well, so like for instance, like from like a professional standpoint.
No, just as a friend. Like really, if I'm always playing the victim, what advice would you give me to get my mind out of that state?
Well, I would just ask, like, the first thing that I've asked someone, and I asked only because I asked this of myself when I was literally in that like perpetual like pissed off victim state, like what is it that I am constantly like so mad about that I deserve to treat other people like crap or
Mhm.
put my problems on other people? So that's maybe a rhetorical question because it's for you to answer to yourself. Like,
Dude, I hate to interrupt you, but this is huge because my wife and I just had this conversation about how there's a few people in our lives that are extremely negative,
yeah,
and you look at them and you're just like, what is going on in your life? Because they are
hmm
so mean. And Candace and I were just talking about that we're saying something's going on in their lives
hmm
that they don't like, and so therefore they're lashing out.
yeah,
And then also in therapy, I was talking about something like this about me and having a hard time with a certain individual in my life. And they're like, what is it about them?
Mm.
And no, they go, what did he say? He said, what is one characteristic that is like you in him? And I
Ouch.
pointed it, yeah, and I pointed it, and in my mind, I knew exactly what it was, and that's what drove me crazy.
Sure.
And I'm like, so as soon as you learn how to love yourself and love that flaw, you will have zero problem
Yeah.
with him.
Well, there's a similar situation. Like there's a relationship that I have right now that I'm working with someone working through, and I was kind of complaining to my wife about it today, and she's like, "This is where wives are really good at it, and this is not like a side jab at my wife or
Uh-huh.
whatever." But she's like, "Yeah, well, when you were like this though," and it's just like, oh, like it's like giving you that outside perspective, right?
Gives you
And
the
I feel like
reminder.
it's only like a wife or a partner that can like give you that like unbridled unfiltered
Hmm.
perspective. And that's what it is for me, is that I will hit a point where it's like I know where my place is in people's lives, and it's like I know where I feel like I've learned, and I'm not saying I'm an expert, I feel like I've learned where not to cross, because I don't want to have more problems. I don't want to be blamed for something. I don't want to share too much, because I've had experiences in the past where I shared and confided too much in people that I should have been able to, that turned around and bit me hard.
100%. I think every person has gone
So,
through that.
yeah. So, what I would say, kind of going back to your question, would just be kind of like, what is it like the rhetorical question, like, what is it that is just so hard for you to deal with, or you feel like is the thing holding you back? Is there anything that you can do to change that? And then if not, then what professional do you need to seek help from to help you like rectify that?
Yeah.
Because there is 100% like the fact that there are people out there that are dealing with things that they cannot overcome on their own, that has put them in that victim category. So I don't want this being portrayed as like some victim blaming session, right? But at the same time, there are the heroes in our lives that will affect us in a positive way. There are the villains in our lives that will affect us in like a horribly negative way, hurt us emotionally, physically, mentally, everything. And then there is us that we can be, you know, either we can progress to the hero side or we can progress to the villain side, or we can stay stagnant and just not progress, just be forever sad. Like, I know I hate to put it that simply, but
No, you brought up when you were talking. The one thing that came to my mind, it's the dumbest thing to me. It's just, but I have a few people in my life that, not that I've stopped communicating with them, I just don't have time.
Sure.
And I haven't made them a priority in my life. And then all of a sudden I'll see them around. It's like, dude, I never hear from you anymore. And in my mind, I go straight to, I almost, it triggers me. I'm like, dude, I'm right here. You could have reached out to me too. Because exactly. I really get tired of people saying, dude, I haven't talked to you forever. Like, where have you been? I'm like, you could have picked up the phone too. It's not just me. Mm-hmm. And I need to learn that, okay, you're right. But I need to be better, and I need to reach out and talk to you. And that's what I try to do. But sometimes I'm like, dude,
I think there's a handful too. Exactly. And I think there's a handful of relationships in our lives that aren't a spouse, that aren't a maybe a close sibling or a parent or a best friend or whatever, that like are worth the extra effort to check in with people. Mm-hmm. But then there's also the relationships that were like, well, that was just that period of my life and they were great in that moment. And now it's, as you're maturing, they're an acquaintance or they're a friend or someone that when you do see, it's like, or you get the, hey, happy birthday text or whatever. But it's like, I have so much going on in my life, and so do you, and so does everybody else, that I think it's unrealistic and unfair to expect everyone to always be checking in with me.
Yeah.
So it's like, I've worked myself into a position that like, I'm trying to, I shouldn't say like I'm trying to work myself in a position that I don't need the constant validation that I used to need.
See, and that's really good. That's hard. That's
horribly hard. Because that's what I did. Is I grew up in a family that like constantly communicates with each other, and I'm not saying necessarily like, oh, super healthy communication, just like literally just talks about everything.
Yeah,
and sometimes overshares, and that has bit me in the butt really hard before, right? So it's just, I read there was this thing on TikTok. It said that when you get married, or like when your child gets married, you don't gain another son or another daughter. Your son or your daughter is starting their own family, and you become the extended family. So it's kind of like that can be the same in multiple relationships. Like, cause it's like, as you and Candace have been married for what? 20 years? 20. Yeah. So, and me and Chelsea have been married for 10 years. The longer we've been married together, the more you realize that like your family unit is your, like, that's your people. Like,
yeah.
Not just that your wife is your person, but you literally created the other ones most of the time. Right. Or you join, other kids into your family. But my point in saying all of this is that like you have the people that are in your inner circle, that whether you talk to them every day, or like my best friend since we were 4, I could not see that guy for 4 years and then text him and say, you want to go to lunch? And it was like, we never skipped a freaking beat. But he and I have a relationship that we know we don't have to check in with each other all the time.
Yeah.
And if he needed anything, I know that I would be one of the first calls he would make. And then the same thing with me and you. Like, I don't ever have a problem, sharing anything with you. And obviously we stay in like constant communication. My wife's like, you talk to Tyson more than you talk to me. But it all just boils down to like, you kind of all going back to like the whole victim thing. Like, you cannot set your own expectations on someone else's life, because you have no idea what is going on in their life and how spread thin they are.
Mm-hmm.
And you could be the tipping point of whether they become a hero or a villain, because you're just like, because what.
And so that's one thing I really liked what you had to say. And the thing with me is I decided that I'm done telling people that. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I could do better. And I apologize, because I really could, even though it might hurt my feelings. That I'm like, dude, you could have reached out too. Because it bothers me sometimes. I'm like, it's just not me, man. A relationship's 2 ways. And if it's bothering you, you could have reached out. However, for lately, within, I would say in the past 2-3 weeks, I have during lunch or on my way to work or on my way back from work, I will actually do a lot of voice texts and voice messages and DMs and stuff like that, and just check it in. Just want to make sure you're doing well, know that you're loved, man, and if there's anything I can ever do. And I've noticed that's a little bit different. People are, I've reached out to people that I normally haven't in a long time, and I think they like that.
Yeah. Well, no, that's what I've said is that's one of the things that normally draws people to you. Like that was you do that to me still. I mean, we've been friends for a little over a year now. But like, just like, hey man, checking in, just seeing how you're going, and I've gotten your voice texts.
Yeah.
Like it's like you're the only guy I know who does that.
Because I'm driving and it's so much easier to do it.
Yeah, but no, yeah, it's funny. I was thinking, have you ever watched that show, The Boys, on Amazon?
I think I've watched the first season. I haven't watched the second.
So you know that whole sound on TikTok, like Ashley, look at me, and it's like a transition. Like Robert and I did it at the Cosmoprof show, where it's like Robert.
yes.
So that guy's name is he's an interesting concept. So he's like the Superman, Captain America of that show.
But he was actually really evil, right?
He's a heck of bad.
Uh-huh.
Like he is a bad dude. But his name's Homelander. He's got the red and white, cape and like the blue. Like he just looks like straight up like Captain America, Superman, right in that category.
Mm-hmm.
But he's portraying the hero. But everybody who knows him knows that he's really the bad guy. So there's that whole other like can of worms in this section too of like you got a lot of people who appear to be this way, but in reality that could be the villain. And the same thing, you have a lot of people who appear to be the villain who could actually really be a nice guy, but no one's giving them the time of day, or they appear to be this way, or they look this way, or they think this way on this certain topic. So what I try to boil all this down to, and I think you can apply this to a lot of different areas, is like I worry about myself and I don't care about other people's lives in the nicest way possible. Not that I don't care about you, but it's like I don't have your life, so it's not my place to have an opinion on your life. My opinion of you comes from our interactions and how I see you treat other people. So that's where I judge my heroes and villains, not on like, oh, this guy's super rich and super wealthy, or whatever. It was like, yeah, well, guess what? He's actually a douchebag. Versus like, oh, this guy's this guy's a paycheck to paycheck, or what? Just the exact contrast, right? And it's like, yeah, so but that guy will give you the shirt off his back, literally, or he'll be the first one to be there at 2:00 in the morning when you need help.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, like, then how do you discern those people and the differences? But like you said, you're just going to listen and observe and see how they really are in person. And what's funny is I can tell you firsthand that I've seen this, and where they portray themselves one way, and then in public they're a different way, and all this and it's true, and it's shocking sometimes, and it's unfortunate, but. It is what it is, and definitely I've had to make boundaries with myself and other people.
Dude, boundaries is, we should do a whole podcast on boundaries.
It's true.
It's like the older I've gotten, right? It's people sometimes say it's like, oh, you get softer. No, I think you get more mature, and you like, you don't need to raw dog everything and just like everything's okay, everything's fine, we'll just figure it out. Like, no, there's people in my life I've had to set like clear boundaries with, whether I've stated that to them or not.
Mm-hmm.
But like that is like a survival tactic you got to have nowadays, because it's like just because somebody is this person in your life does not mean that they are entitled to be in your life. And that is not saying me like, oh, that's my experience. I'm saying like I've seen that of like friends and family of people that they have had to cut off because just that it was healthier for them to have that boundary than it was to have that person, this far into their life. So
yeah, there was a gentleman as I started the company, and he was fairly invested in the company, and he was extremely toxic in my life. And really? Candace always could tell if he called me or anything like that, and because it would just brought me down. Like I said, negativity really does affect me personally. Like if you're being negative, if you're trying to use guilt trips, stuff like that on me, it really brings me down. It ticks me off. It makes me upset. and I'm trying really hard to get over that type of stuff. And you know, but he got to the point where I actually had to confront him and talk to him and say, hey, I can't have this anymore. We're done. And it definitely hurt him. But I'm just like, I can't live like this. I cannot live feeling like I'm hurting you when it's my company. You have zero say in it. You know what I mean? Like, you're making wrong decisions, you're doing everything wrong. And I'm like, dude, you're not even part of this.
I think there's very few people in this world that don't like let negative situations affect them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I mean, just like do you remember that text I sent the other day to you, Robert, and Matt, where I just was like, hey guys, serious question.
Oh,
How do you guys all deal with? So like, I've got this guy that I used to work with, and so he and I butted heads at one point, right? This is when I first started driving a truck. I first moved to Utah, was driving a semi truck, had just gotten my license. He and I started literally like on the same day or one day after another. My brother was one of the owners of the trucking company when I started. And I think from the start, he just was like, oh, nepotism. This guy, no trucking experience. He jumps in. I was a brand new truck driver. I didn't know how to shift 18 gears yet. So they gave me one of the newer trucks with an automatic. And he just is this guy that forever has been given everything by his daddy. He literally has a new truck all the time because his dad or his uncle owns a dealership. I don't care. That's cool. I wish I had a dad or an uncle that gave me a new truck every year because they owned a dealership. But it's just like from day one, he had something against me. And then I'm also coming off of like getting healthier mentally wise, right? Like, so I still had a short fuse. And so then he and I would butt heads a little bit, but I never did anything to him to like make the guy hate me, but he has hated me forever. And I left the company, came back, and he was in kind of like the truck boss position, which was like, you know, the guy who handles all the dispatching and driver management and stuff like that. He wasn't cutting it. They brought me back because they needed a guy to do it. I accepted the position, came in, pretty much became his boss. That blew his mind. And it took a long time to pretty much get him to be like, dude, you gotta like follow suit. Just because you don't like me and this was your position doesn't mean that you can like not play along. Like I'm kind of your boss now. Yeah. Anyways, long story short, he gets fired because he's texting and driving a freaking semi truck and then hits somebody.
Oh yeah.
But Utah County, dude, when you're in this industry, construction, trucking, excavation, whatever, it's a small world. Eventually everybody knows everybody. I have not worked with this guy for 2.5 years and I still run into people that are like, oh yeah, so-and-so hates your freaking guts. Like he still talks about me.
Oh man.
And I'm like, dude, like I don't freaking every time I hear about it, it just sends me into this like spiral where I want to just like, I'm not kidding. He's like 5'5". And I don't want to like demean this guy because it's like, it just makes me look like a jerk. But it's like knowing me, like I could shut him up very quickly.
Yeah.
But I've never gone that route. And I've never gone to like try to humiliate him or demean him or whatever. But it's like that wells up inside me. That's why I texted you guys of like, how do you deal with this when someone's talking crap about you? Like, how do you like not let it do? It bugged me all freaking day.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I know where he works. Like literally, like I know where he parks his car. Like, because it's like that's how tight knit this little, like, you know, this kind of community is. And it just like, why do you spend your time worrying about me and my life? And I like, dude, I tried to be friends with him before. We were cool with each other at one point. We like kind of got past our differences and then we're not. And I don't know why. So that's where I try not to let these things get to me, but it's like everybody has situations.
Sometimes they do.
They do 100%. And
especially when you don't have no idea what's going on.
And that's one that I every time I got to figure out how to get past it. Cause every time I hear that he's talking about me,
I get negative comments all the time on social media. There are people that do not like me, and I don't know why. And it used to affect me. And occasionally, there's something that hits home because it hits me. Like I feel like I am struggling there, and then they say it. I'm like, oh. But like I told you in that group text, I'm like, they are struggling, and they're lashing out on you. Just ignore it, and just know that don't give them that power, and it's harder. It's hard. Easier said than done.
Well, it's like
hard. But
Yeah.
I've learned these past, this past year, because I used to this used to feed and devour me and all this kind of stuff, and now I'm just like, Now, now I have real problems where people want to do these things and this thing and this thing, and which would affect me and my family and my business, and I'm just like, that's the stuff that I actually put my mental stuff to.
See, that's where I can still work on that. That's why I asked you three, because one, I knew Robert would just be like F them, forget about them. They don't you just missed your motivation.
Down there and beat the crap out of them.
Yeah, and that's what and Matt is like such an intellectual. I feel like that he's able to be like, no, well, what he said, he's like, I could just literally talk them into being submissively and shut up, basically, right? And eventually it morphed into the conversation of I mean, do we all need to get plane tickets, Logan? Or do we need to just come throw down? But that made me feel better of hey, this guy's making me feel like crap. I'm going to go to the group of freaking guys that make me feel I'm appreciated, I'm valued, and whatever, just some true friends. Right. So that's where I don't know if we've kind of gotten off topic a little bit, but it's kind of coming back full circle of the heroes and villains in our lives literally have a massive effect on our trajectory.
Yeah.
So it's I had this villain, I guess, so to speak, in my life that just every time he rears his tiny little ugly head, it puts me in a funk. So I'm like, okay, I got to go to some of the heroes in my lives and be like, what do you guys do? Talk me out of wanting to say something super demeaning to this guy. So.
Well, and I if people are listening, I'm like, if they're still listening, now, if they're listening, just know that, there is, everyone has down days. Everyone has hard times. I'm not always as positive as I want to be, but for the most part, I feel like people who harm me, if I'll actually come to them and say, dude, what did I do? And I've learned that they usually will tell you, and usually it's something that you have no idea. And we usually say sorry to each, and we own up to it, and we just become friends. And that's happened before, and it's not happened before. But definitely communication. Be adults about it. Be mature about it. Yeah. And if you don't come to resolution, it's not on you. Yeah. And then you just move forward and don't let it hinder you and your growth and you personally.
Yeah, I mean, Chelsea essentially was saying, she's like, you should just send him a text and be super adult about it. And
I've had to do it.
Yeah.
I was get this. So I was at work. So this was 3 jobs ago. And
when you were a male stripper?
Yes, when I was a male stripper.
Yeah.
No, and we were at a conference, and we were with customers, and we took them out to eat and everything. So it was all the salesmen and a few customers. And I was eating and just eating like normal. I just all this kind of stuff. And I was at the show, and I was doing my thing. You've seen me at shows and stuff like that. Anyway, I get back, and I'm getting in trouble for how I was at the show because he was a manager, and he had to go tell the other managers, like his manager, and then they called me in, and I'm like, what did I do? And he's like, well, he says you weren't being very professional. And he was telling me all these things that I did, and I'm like, who said this? I was like, can I just talk to him, because whatever he's saying is inaccurate. Anyway, I went and talked to this guy, and I'm like, dude, if you have a problem with me personally, like if I actually did something wrong, I totally understand you going to the boss and saying, hey, but all the things that he told me were just personal. So if you have a problem with me personally, and this is the first time I ever did this because it really got me. And I'm like, if you have a problem with me, just tell me. So we step out in the warehouse.
You're like, and we throw down.
No. He started screaming at me.
Really?
He's like, you were a disgusting human being. You eat so gross. Like you chomped on your food and all this kind of stuff. And then he's like, and when you were talking to people about he just went off on me. And I'm like, oh my God. I really started tearing up. I don't know if you know this or not. I don't think you've ever seen me cry. But he hurt my feelings. Wait.
You don't think I've ever seen you cry?
No, but he hurt my feelings, and I'm just sitting here taking it. And then at the end, I'm like, I won't say his name, but I'm like, thank you for telling me. I appreciate it. I'll do better. But no, that was very professional. and I outsold you 10-1, and I just walked
Ooh.
away.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I really didn't say that, but I wanted to.
Yeah, but that's what it is it's like you can almost pinpoint the insecurity of why someone doesn't like you. And it's literally just like some people just don't like you because you are winning or you are, better than them in one aspect or another. I'm not saying like better overall as a human, but like, yeah, maybe you were better at your job than he was at the time. I mean, that could be a similar situation for me
Yeah,
and that
but
guy,
he
but-
really he just didn't like me.
and there's some people that will never like you no
Mhm.
matter what. I mean, because you're Tyson. Not everybody likes you. It's okay.
No, and it used to really affect me. And I obviously didn't say that at the end, but I did say thank you for telling me. I appreciate it. And we went back, and if there was ever issues, he would always come to me, and there was quite a few. But eventually I quit because I couldn't handle it because it was just so negative all the time. And I was like, okay, I'm done. There is such thing as toxic positivity. And like I would go to lunch with a coworker, like, you can't go to lunch with him. Why? Because we're afraid of what he's going to tell you. What? You know what I mean? And it was just odd, and it affected me. But to come to find out, he was crazy, and so they knew what they were talking about.
Sure.
But the way they handled the situation, I didn't agree with.
Sure. No, that's interesting. But I mean, it goes back to what we were saying when we started this podcast. Started this episode, where you have the appearance of you have the scenario of like what makes somebody a hero, what makes somebody a villain, and then the next level up, how they appear to come off, whether it's a hero or a villain. But whether we're talking about fictional stories like Superman, Batman, and then all the the Marvel guys over here, like there's always the people that don't like them, or there's always the people who think that they're wrong. I mean, that was like a huge storyline in the whole Marvel cinematic universe of like, oh, these superheroes need to be put in check. But then the superheroes are like, we're just trying to do the best we can to save everybody. I'm like, yeah, but people are dying. So it's like that can spill over into real life of kind of like, I'm just doing the best that I can, and me just being me bugs you. I can't. I literally don't have the mental capacity to entertain your feelings.
And that's what I was getting at, is just some people we just don't get along, and that is okay. It's totally okay. Just don't let it consume you. Don't let hate consume you. And I love the guy. Like if I was to see him, like, are we best friends? Am I going to talk to him? No, I'll just say, hey, what's up? But I have zero anger, hate, or anything towards him at all.
Yeah.
And it's the truth. And so there's just things that you're just like, okay,
yeah,
this is how it's going to be, and that's okay.
One question I want to pose, maybe as we're kind of wrapping this one up for everybody who's listening, is thinking about your life on a day-to-day basis, or even in the long term by weeks, months, or whatever. Are you like, if this is like part of your origin story, like, are you on your way to becoming a hero in your own life or a villain in your own life? Like,
That's a good question.
Like, are you constantly trying to better yourself for yourself and your people, like your circle of people, to where you'll be viewed as a hero to the people that matter? Or are you putting yourself in situations and causing other situations that are making you be viewed as a villain by the people who need to be viewing you as a hero? So that was one thing that's been floating around in my brain since we've been talking.
Yeah. You are the master of your soul. Is that what's that quote?
I have no idea.
That one quote.
The one with the words by the guy who's really smart and stuff?
No, he's like, I'm the captain of my vessel. I'm the master of my soul.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know that.
What is that quote?
I don't know, but the captain of the vessel part is what clicked for me.
It's like we really are the captain of our lives, and we can control the ship. And we just need to be able to master ourselves. And dude, it's what I always like tell my kids. I'm like, I'm just learning how to be a parent still. And my oldest is 19 and my youngest is 10, and I'm just like, I'm still learning how to be a parent. Yeah. And so we're always going to continue to grow. We're always going to continue to learn how to love and get over our personal vices and stuff like that. Don't be hard on yourselves if you fell one day, because it's going to happen.
For sure.
As long as we're master of your own domain, that's what it is.
Yeah, there you go. So, Well, try to be a hero this week, guys. I know we all have our own origin stories and we have all the crap that we have to deal with because no one's life is the same as the next person. So you're all heroes in my mind, especially if you're listening to our super awesome podcast.
Well, have a great day.
Thanks, guys.
All right,
Bye.
Bye. So dumb.
That's like my new thing.
Thank you so much for listening, guys. It means the world to us. If you have a chance, please give us a 5-star review, as well as write something a little pretty in there so that we know that you know that we know that you care. Anyway, have a great day, guys. I can't do it.
Dude, that was good. I like that. You get to redo it without laughing. That was good.